Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the ultimate guide to playing the Hood in Marvel Rivals. And as weird as it is, the Hood actually plays more like a brawl tank due to his weapons having a very high damage fall off. He is a very strong hero and I'll be showing you the best strategies to make the most of his kit. So some quick tips and tricks here to start this video off. His damage fall off is at 8 meters, so he best is utilized at close range. Now another thing is you can use his Void Walk here to give yourself 20 dark magic or your demonic energy here. What's great about it is it has a 15-second cooldown, so you can use this to run to point and start off with 20 at the start. You can also use this after team fights to give yourself a bit of extra edge. Now another thing, his walls are a little bit misleading, so they will reduce the amount of damage that gets output by 35%. They reduce healing by 20%, and the Moon Knight team up gives you a wall so you can actually block heals. So you can use this between tanks and their healers to stop a bit of the healing there, but you can also use it on your own team here. Now what's great about that is it'll blind enemies as they walk through it. So if your team is like working in sync with each other, you can just toss this down to protect from dive. All right, now so for a breakdown of his Accursed Pistols, his main attack here, they're going to do 26 damage per round here, and every shot that you do gives you 2 demonic energy. Now the thing about this is once you get above 50%, it is going to give you an increase to your attack rate, but the bullets do drop in their overall damage to accommodate for this. Now, at 8 meters range, this is where the damage fall off starts to begin. So roughly the same distance as a Thing's Haymaker. So staying within this will give you roughly 130 damage per second if you're shooting like body shots, and headshots obviously being double that for 260. But the thing is, once you actually get your increased attack rate, as you see here, he shoots a lot faster. This reduces the damage from the bullets from 26 per bullet down to 21 per bullet. But this ends up being a bit of a damage buff, giving him around 140 damage per second, but also the increased fire rate makes it a little bit easier for you to land your shots. So once you get that all the way maxed out to 100, you get the increased firing form here where your hands turn into rifles. Now you want to use these at a bit of a range because it actually does have a much more generous damage fall off. So where his normal pistols at 20 meters will fall off to 55% of their normal damage, which you can see is not a whole lot. Once you actually get into your rifle form, they stay at 80% damage. Now that is really solid because that means that you're only losing 20% of the overall damage from these. They fire insanely fast, basically getting 4 damage per shot and shooting up 20 rounds per second. So yeah, the damage from that is a lot higher. You can hit upwards of 320 damage per second getting headshots off on these things. Now, the next thing is, again, they have that damage fall off, which only goes to 80% at 20 meters and beyond. So if you're firing away, you can actually do some pretty crazy damage. The only downside to them is that whenever you're shooting away, they do become very inaccurate. As you can see there, they just have a crazy spread to them. You can kind of just alternate between the two of these. I wouldn't fully recommend doing that unless the target's at a far away range. But you can see here, it is like a little bit quicker to then go with like an alternate fire here just to give yourself a little bit of extra accuracy, but it's not really that noticeable or worth doing. Now they will also give you a it'll give you 10% of lifesteal per second here. Now this isn't actually worth a whole lot because you're doing 160 damage per second on body shots, 320 per second on headshots. So that ends up being only 16 heals per second or 32 heals per second, depending on if you're hitting all headshots or body shots. So that doesn't give you enough sustain. So don't think you can go in, dive in, and get a lot of sustain out of that. And your demonic wall will give you an increased amount of lifesteal. However, it's really nothing. It's not a lot. Where this works really well is if you have like the Scarlet Witch team up, you can just use this to get in, dive close to an enemy, and then use your phase walk to get away here, and then blast away as you're continuing to escape. So this is where he really is a dive. Like you're just using this to get your snowballing effect of damage, basically taking out as many targets as you can with your shots here, mostly just going for the increase the overall demonic energy so that you can then blast away, preferably at a support. And again, Scarlet Witch team up is great for that because you can just use it to then teleport behind them and they usually are not that much wiser. The next up is Void Walk. So this has a 15-second cooldown, which is obviously quite a bit, but it'll last for a second, 1.2 seconds here, and you'll actually get a movement speed buff from using this that does decay over 2 seconds here. But the nice thing about it is you can use it to jump up high if you need to get a bit of extra range. You can use that to, like, you know, tech yourself away into a different location. It's great for escaping. Basically, you want to like brawl your way in close, use your abilities if you're going to go dive a healer, and then use this to escape. It'll also do an explosion here in a 4.5 meter radius. It does do 40 damage, which is obviously not a whole lot, but you can use it to pop in, and especially if you're at 80 dark or demonic energy, you can use that to then just dive in, get a little extra damage with that explosion, or alternatively, obviously Scarlet Witch team up is great for that, but massive damage. And again, it does have that 20 demonic energy I mentioned at the start, so that is super useful, but you basically are going to use that as your getaway tool with a 15-second cooldown. That is his main mobility. Perhaps the most interesting thing about his kit though is the Abyss Veil here. So when you toss this down, it's actually going to give you more dark magic per shot, so you're getting 2.75 per shot instead of 2 per shot. So this allows you to build up your guns that much quicker, but it is also a really good defensive tool because using this, it reduces the damage of enemy shots by 35%, reduces their healing by 20% if they shoot through those. It'll also deal damage as the enemy passes through it, so they will take 60 damage and they get blinded for a second. So this can be really nice. Again, if your team's getting dived, you can actually throw it back to your healers here, have them survive because the Black Panther or whatever is diving them will end up getting blinded, allowing you to help take them out as you're, again, kind of a brawl tank. But if you're playing with friends or something and they're playing a strategist role, this is really useful because you can then just toss it down. They can play around it, making the dives have to take damage and get blinded from it. But really, there's a few ways you can use this. You can throw it like in front of yourself and just use it as a damage blocker. It has like an 8-meter range there, side to side. But you can also then use this, like again, as mentioned, you can throw it behind the tanks here and block their healing, especially if you're using the Moon Knight team up. Or again, there's 3 ways. You can throw it on your team here, and you try to want to, build up your dark magic, because that's where you get a lot of your DPS from. So shooting through this is going to be obviously like the way to use it, and you will also get 20% of lifesteal here if you're using this, so you can get a bit more lifesteal, and this does turn to bonus health as well, so that is obviously quite nice. And then we have his shield block, the Mantle of Oblivion here. So this is really good because you can use this to block damage. And you see, once you get past 50 demonic energy, it grows in size. So that is really nice. It's going to convert the damage you take by 3% basically. So 3.75%. So you use this to get your demonic energy up. It's going to be great if you're like taking an ult because you can then pop that. And one thing I'd recommend is in the settings, go into keyboard and go under the hood here, or if you're on controller, go under that. Make sure you select them and hold to activate Mantle of Oblivion. Turn this off. I found this to be much better because instead you can just press it and it's going to hold it up instead of having to hold it down, which is a big difference. So yeah, use that. It does get disabled, you see there, as soon as you get your demonic energy to 100%. So yeah, you do lose a bit of your defensiveness, but you get a bit of lifesteal in there. So yeah, use it how you will, but this is basically meant to just block a big instance of damage, and it has a 10-second cooldown, so you want to try and use this as much as you can just to help out. It's not going to be like a super great getaway tool because you can pop it and just block a little bit of damage, but it's there, use it. Now his ult is also kind of interesting. It is his only team utility skill here because when using it is actually going to give your teammates health based on the damage that you're dealing. So you see there we got the health going to them, and this health is going to be in an 8-meter spherical radius, so it's only going to go out around here. Now one thing that I recommend doing sometimes, depending on the situation, is you can use your passive to get up high and pop your ult up here because it'll keep you in the sky. Enemies don't like to look up high, but you can see here we're not giving our bonus health to our team, so use that how you will. It will restore you to full health, so use this whenever you're getting like sometimes you don't want to ult because you're going to die and lose your ult. You want to use this one to basically give yourself that extra survivability, and its damage is very good. So the first shots will do 90 damage plus 10% of their max health, and then the final shot's going to do 140 damage plus 15% of their max health, so that obviously does hit extremely hard. We want to use this though to provide a bit of utility for our team, giving them that extra bonus health. And it's going to convert 60% of your damage into that bonus health. And you're also restored to full health whenever you get out of your ultimate. So the thing is, watch your own health because you do get that bonus health yourself to stay alive. But the problem is when you're in this, everyone's going to target you. And if you get killed in your ult, you're done. It's not like Hella's where you get to drop back down to the ground. You're done, so you're getting knocked out. You're killed. So whenever you are using his ultimate, you have to be kind of paying attention to what's happening in the game. Sometimes you need to cancel it early, and that's okay because it'll help you survive. And one last thing, when you're in your rifle form here, you can actually exit it to keep your demonic energy, so if you're out of a fight, you can save it. But moving on to the team ups. Now, personally, I prefer having Scarlet Witch just team up because more movement tech is always nice. Now, the thing is, it's going to have a 20-meter range that you can put this out. And what's crazy about it is it does 40 damage per second inside this 5-meter spherical range. So using that, you can actually do some pretty consistent damage with this. But it is also going to reduce their damage by 5% for every hit. So you can reduce their damage by 40% or reduce their healing by 40%. But the big thing is, when you actually have the real team up with Scarlet Witch, like there's a Scarlet Witch on your team, it gets even crazier because then you can teleport to it, doing doing 60 damage when you appear. So again, when you have your dark magic built up, this can be a way to just take out both strategists really quickly, because you're basically going to wait until you're around that 80% there. You're going to use this ability, pop in, teleport to it, and then just fire off the couple extra shots you need. We end up taking them out there, but then you're going to use this on a strategist. It is a very powerful ability. I love the Scarlet Witch team up. More movement is always nice. It does have a 16-second cooldown, so you got to take that into account, but the Scarlet Witch enhanced team up will also pull them into you, so use that as a way to just take care of strategists, especially if they're not paying a lot of attention. Now, the Moon Knight team up is actually really good, because whenever you have the shield out, it's going to have a 200% or 200 damage. So as it gets destroyed by the enemy, it'll then explode, which will do 30 damage. So that's not really the crazy part. Whenever it explodes, it's going to reduce the amount of damage the enemy deals by 35%, reducing their healing by the same amount. So that can be really good, because it is not just a shield at that point, but it's also a way to reduce the amount of damage, protect your team. So you do have a bit of extra utility, and again, a little tiny extra bit of damage. But another thing about this is it will make your shots ricochet around. So you can shoot through that, and while they're not close enough here to do it, you can then use it to actually chip a little extra damage around. Now, it's not a lot of damage, I'll be honest, so you basically don't really need to use it for that Moon Knight effect. It won't turn you into Moon Knight. The damage that you're going to get is like very minimal amounts of damage, but it is something, so you can use it that way, but it is a little bit harder to use in that regard, so just be mindful of that. It's going to be best, obviously, whenever you're able to get the max amount of damage there, but yeah, you see it doesn't do a crazy amount of ricochet. They can bounce 3 times. They have a 3-meter range for bouncing, so again, it's not like a whole lot, but they'll lose 50% of the damage that it was dealt, so it's not going to give you a massive amount of damage. It's just going to be a little minimal amount, but it can sometimes help out. It's mostly for the exploding, the extra shield damage, and then also being able to apply the damage reduction onto enemies. That's really where it shines. So how you want to play him? Typically, again, he kind of functions like a brawl, so trying to stay within like that 8-meter radius so you get the max amount of damage. Although the fall off will happen at max at 20 meters, so anywhere within that range, I'd prefer around like the 8 to 15 meters. So you can use that to kind of just distract them depending on the situation. You can use it to dive a little, but I wouldn't recommend going too hard on the dive. And yeah, once you get that teleport, yeah, use it if you got the Scarlet Witch team up, because you can use that to just go in and just completely surprise enemies there. That wasn't a crazy surprise, but I was able to push a little bit extra. But he's also an alright anti-dive, especially if you get your rifle guns out, because then you can just go in and destroy whoever ends up diving if it's another hood. Now here's a video of me dealing with a ulting Punisher by doing a little bit of a trick here, to sneaking around, getting a tiny little bit of lifesteal to survive there, and then just peeled my way out. But yeah, once you get those rifle guns, go for a DPS or a healer. So that Phoenix is driving us crazy, dealt with her and try to get the Punisher too, and then you can, yeah, use your fly to get away real quick. So here's a little bit of a funny situation. I end up dying and just flopping right there, threw my wall down, and the wall ends up exploding and dealing damage, getting me a kill. And here's another Punisher ult here. So you do have a bit of range, especially if your whole team is focusing on things, but as soon as you get those rifle guns, again, they only have that 80% damage fall off, so they stay strong. You can take enemies out from range. And yeah, you basically want to try and just feed off your demonic energy there until you can get to a point where you can then go ahead diving. This is the perfect. You got a thing here, got a big triple there thanks to the thing ult. So yeah, you can use that and kind of play smart. Again, you can use your veil to get away and get that 20 extra dark magic, which is going to be magic or super useful. So play strategically to build up that demonic energy for the time where you're thinking you're able to actually dive. I prefer, again, Scarlet Witch ult for able to jump behind the healers and take them out. But yeah, he is an incredibly powerful character in Marvel Rivals, and one of the strongest and actually the highest possible damage character in the game, as long as you hit all your headshots on the rifles. So subscribe if this video is useful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I hope you guys all have an incredible day.